Hi, I'm Zach. This is Challenging Vedic Astrology and Tarot. Welcome to the channel. So, today we are going to be looking at the chart of Albert Einstein. And we're going to look at why was he a genius using Vedic Sidereal Astrology. So, if you like my videos, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you'd like to get either a Vedic Sidereal birth chart, a personal reading, or a consultation, links to those will be in the description box and the comments below. Okay, so we're going to be looking at why Albert Einstein was a genius. And we're also going to look at a few other things, like for instance, all of his cheating on his 2 wives that he had. So, let's get into this. Alright, so, this is the chart of Albert Einstein, who was widely regarded as the most intelligent man on Earth. So, why was he so intelligent? Well, for this one, we're going to be talking about some nakshatras that I have already discussed on the channel. So, right off the bat, we see he's a Gemini ascendant, the AS. And his ascendant nakshatra, or constellation, is Ardra. His BP, the Brigabindu point, or destiny point, is also in Ardra. So, Ardra is the nakshatra of futuristic intelligence. So, right off the bat, we see he would have the capacity to have a futuristic intelligence. An intelligence ahead of his time. We see that very clearly. Just because we see this nakshatra, we can say that. But we also have to look at other factors. So, what represents intelligence in a person? Well, Jupiter is one's wisdom. It's their divine intelligence, their spiritual intelligence. And then Mercury is your analytical intelligence, your earthly intelligence. These are the 2 planets that find directional strength when they're in the first house. First house is the brain. So they are strongest in the house that represents the brain. When you are the one with the intelligence. And they lose that directional strength when they're in the 7th house. When you have to receive your intelligence from others. So, we immediately have to look at Mercury and Jupiter. So, Mercury is debilitated. It's in Pisces, the 12th sign. So, off the bat, you would think he wouldn't be very intelligent. But, you gotta look at the support this Mercury is receiving. So, this Mercury is being brightened by the sun. Sun holds the lowest degree. So, it's shining a light on Mercury from below. And then Mercury is conjunct Venus. So, this is creating something called Nichbung Raj Yoga. That is a combination that cancels the debilitation of a planet and makes it act exalted. So, his Mercury is receiving a lot of support from these 2 factors. That is one thing that we see here. Now, that's just one factor though. Or 2 factors. So it's being brightened and it's receiving that cancellation of debilitation. Now it doesn't mean that his Mercury won't show signs of debilitation. What it does mean is that as he gets older, his Mercury would start to help him more. Albert Einstein had trouble learning when he was younger. He had trouble in school. Debilitated Mercury, you'll see that. A person has trouble in their education early on in life. Mercury is the planet of the student. So, we clearly see that. But, Pisces gives a person an otherworldly intelligence. Their intelligence isn't for this practical world. Their intelligence is higher. Pisces is other planes of existence. So Albert Einstein would have a futuristic intelligence. He wouldn't think about things normally. This man couldn't even put on his socks right. He'd wear mismatched socks all the time. You see that with that debilitated Mercury. Also, he associated math with music. Why? Venus holds the highest degree in his chart. It's in the nakshatra Revati. Now, it being the highest degree, that means it's his Atmakarka. It's the planet that represents his soul. Now, why is the nakshatra Revati important? This is a nakshatra of music, of creativity, imagination, of mathematics. So, with it being conjunct Mercury, it shows his analytical ability, his view of numbers would be affected by music. Now, another thing that we see is Ketu's aspect on Mercury. When Ketu and Mercury are affecting one another, whether through conjunction or aspect, it can make a person very good at mathematics. So, we see he would be very good at math. And all this in his 10th house of career, fame, status. It's why he became famous for being the most intelligent man on earth. Also, Pisces. Pisces is a sign, along with Ardra, the nakshatra of Ardra, tied to time travel or perceiving time differently. The nakshatra Purvabhadrapada is tied to portals. Makes me think of Terminator, how they take a portal back in time. Revati. The Princess Revati waited for decades, hundreds of years, until different time period on Earth took place, while she was waiting for Brahma with her father. Because they were supposed to be, there to find a man that would be suitable to be her husband. All this time passed, because time passed differently in Brahma's realm. And then when it was finally time to go to Earth to have a husband, the time period had changed. So, what we see with this is a different perception of time. Now, how did Albert Einstein discover the theory of relativity? The theory that made him famous. He discovered it while on a bus. He was looking at a clock tower, and time seemed to slow down. He perceived time differently, and it made him think of the theory of relativity, how time is relative. And how he proved this theory was with Rahu and Ketu. Because this is how he was able to show his theory. Prove it. Now, why Rahu Ketu? Because in his navamsa chart, Venus and Mars are in Satyabisha. Now, why is this important? This is sounding like nonsense. Satyabisha is the nakshatra ruled by Rahu. Satyabisha is the nakshatra of the eclipse. The symbol of Satyabisha is an empty circle. An empty circle, like the ring of an eclipse. So, we see Satyabisha is the nakshatra of the eclipse. The only time Rahu is visible. So, this would be how he'd prove the theory of relativity. But, we've looked at Mercury in the birth chart. Now let's look in the navamsa. In the navamsa, Mercury is in the 8th house. Okay. In Libra. Not particularly strong. But it's in an exchange yoga with Venus and Mars. In Aquarius. Okay. So, still not particularly strong. That's not really adding too much strength. It's creating some yogas, some good, some not so good. But, so we see that. But what else do we see in the birth chart? Now we gotta look at Jupiter. Jupiter is an Aquarius. So, what's Aquarius? Aquarius is the sign of the future. Futuristic technology is tied to Aquarius. Now, Jupiter is said to be exalted in Cancer. And it is. But Jupiter exalted in Cancer shows Jupiter would provide wisdom to people that are close to the person. They would care about their household. They would care about the people that live nearby. They would care about their students. But Jupiter in Aquarius. See, Cancer is emotions for those that are close to us. Aquarius, it may be an air sign, but it's an emotional air sign. Remember, the water bear is the symbol of Aquarius, pouring wisdom to the masses. Jupiter acts exalted in Aquarius. So we clearly see that his Jupiter is very strong. Because, now Jupiter is not just caring for the people local. Now Jupiter wants to give wisdom to all. Now, what's another factor we see for why you'd be intelligent? And we'll get into Jupiter and the navamsa in a second. But the other factor we see is the fifth house. Fifth house is the house of a person's intelligence. So, Libra is the sign of the fifth house. Venus, the ruler of the fifth house, is exalted in Revati, the nakshatra of mathematics, like I said. So, we clearly see very intelligent person. Jupiter is aspecting the fifth house of intelligence, making him even more intelligent. Then, in the navamsa, what do we see? Jupiter is in the ninth house again. Now, it's in Scorpio this time, so it's not as strong. It's losing some strength as he gets older. But it's still aspecting the fifth house of intelligence. Still providing that intelligence. Now, the fifth lord, the moon, is in Capricorn, aspecting its own house. So it's providing protection, but it's not particularly strong by sign. So, those are some factors that we see. But another factor is Rahu in the ascendant. Rahu is the most intelligent graha, planet, when it comes to earthly matters. Rahu is a very clever snake. And it's in the nakshatra of Revati. Strong obsession with mathematics. Strong desire for mathematics. An obsession with mathematics and music. And his ascendant nakshatra is also Revati. So once again, we see that very strongly. Rahu can make a person very clever, especially being in the ascendant. Don't get me wrong, it can also confuse them in certain areas too. So, we clearly see Albert Einstein would be a genius. Extremely intelligent. Now let's talk about some other aspects of Einstein. So, his moon is in Scorpio. In Jeshta. So, moon's debilitated. We clearly see he would not have a good relationship with his mother. On top of that, his fourth lord is debilitated, Mercury. Now, yes, it gets better over time with Venus being conjunct it, but it's still initially debilitated. Otherwise, it'd be exalted from the get-go. Also, remember the sign, Virgo, sign of the enemy. Mother would be like an enemy to him, an obstacle. Mother would have health issues. There would be conflict with the mother. Virgo is a sign of conflict, the original sixth house. So, when Moon is in Scorpio, sun ups and downs in a person's mind and emotions. Their mind goes too deep into things. They become obsessed. Now, Scorpio is also a sign of research, the original 8th house. So, his mind would be very good for research. His Rahu is in the 8th house of research, strong desire to research. Also very good for a mathematician. But, his moon's in the nakshatra of Jyeshta. Jyeshta is an over-sexual nakshatra to the point of cheating. So, we clearly see he would have cheated. He cheated numerous times. I know, you think, exalted Venus, there's no way he'd cheat. Well, the moon says otherwise. Now, what else do we see? Well, his Jupiter is in Dhanishta. So, Dhanishta is the nakshatra of marital karma. Now, I have seen positive marital karma with Dhanishta, not just negative, but I have seen negative. And why does this matter? Well, one, it's the 7th lord of relationships and marriage, so that's one big factor. Another thing that we see is Dhanishta is a nakshatra tied to betrayal. The symbolism tied to this nakshatra. Sun transits in Dhanishta every Valentine's Day. The symbol of Cupid shooting an arrow. Now, the mythological figure tied to Dhanishta is Bhishma Pitama. I hope I said that name right. Now, he died after being shot in the back by 100 arrows. This nakshatra shows betrayal. Definitely a possibility for betrayal. And also, Jupiter is the biggest theme in a person's life. So, we clearly see marital karma would be a big theme in his life. And in this case, for the most part, he seemed to be the one betraying others in marriage. Now, what else do we see? Moving on to his navamsa. His Ketu's in the 7th house. So, Ketu is separation. Ketu is headless. He wouldn't think clearly when it comes to his spouse. He would feel a disconnect with his spouse. In marriage, he would feel disconnected from his partner. Now, his Jupiter is now in Jyeshta. So now the biggest theme of his life is being over-sexual to the point of cheating. We already saw that with his moon in Jyeshta in the birth chart. So now, once again, he's cheating. Venus and Mars are in the 12th house. 12th house is a house of bed pleasure. They're in Satyabhisha. Satyabhisha is a nakshatra tied to love triangles. Because of the mythology, which I'm not going to get into in this video. But definitely, we see love triangles, we see cheating. Satyabhisha is tied to secrecy. This is the nakshatra of criminals and thieves. Now, I'm not saying Albert Einstein was a criminal, but he would have been secret. He would have committed secret sexual acts, having an affair. Now, what else do we see? Well, we see that prominent Ardra. Ardra is the nakshatra of heartbreak and sorrow. He would have experienced heartbreak in his life. He would have experienced sorrow in a way he would never forget. But it's also a nakshatra of fatherhood. Ardra people can make great parents. Now, not saying Albert Einstein necessarily was, but in his divorce with his first wife, he made an agreement with her that if he won the Nobel Peace Prize, he would give the prize money to her to take care of their kids. And when he won the Nobel Peace Prize, he gave all of the prize money to her to take care of their kids. So, that was the birth chart of Albert Einstein, though. The most intelligent man on Earth. At least, during his time. But yeah, so I hope y'all enjoyed this. And if you like my videos, be sure to like and subscribe. Really helps out me and the channel. And if you'd like a Vedic Sidereal birth chart, a personal reading, or a consultation, the links to those will be in the description box and the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.